Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my Frankenstein AR-15s. This thing has been constantly a work in progress. I have two AR-15s. They're both going to be upgrading soon, but before I upgrade them, I want to go ahead and talk about what I have going on, the round count, and how the parts are performing. So I know PSA is a lot of crap. I'm personally not a huge fan of PSA either. However, their lower has done just fine. I went ahead and filled in the PSA logo with epoxy. However, it still kind of shows through even through the paint, but not a big deal. I honestly don't know what brand of upper this is. I do know that it is a PSA barrel. This rifle is a prime example of what you should not do with an AR-15 barrel. As a lot of you know, AR-15 barrels come in either FSP style or low profile, to where they don't have the pins cut in the bottom of the barrel for the front sight post pins to come through and hold the front sight post in place. That really bugged me, so I went ahead and dremeled slots for the front sight post pins to fit. As bubba as that sounds, it's factory straight, perfect lockup, zero gas leakage from the front sight post, and then I don't know if you can see, but right there, I went ahead and drilled a tapped-in hole in the front sight base to keep the front sight post locked in place. The pins do just fine. There's plenty of lockup with the pins, but just for added security, I went ahead and drilled and tapped that hole. So I did kind of a clone build, even though it's far, far from clone correct. So AR-15 stock with the butt pad, standard AR style receivers, SIG Romeo 7, I believe, and an eotech magnifier behind it. Now, this is something that I had to modify. This is an old G23 magnifier, and there was a lot of slop with the magnifier whenever it was in the upright position, and it would wiggle a lot. And I don't know if you can see, but in between the hinge slots, I went ahead and made some shims to take up a lot of that slop. So whenever it is in the locked position, it does not move at all. And I have perfect clearance between my red dot and the magnifier for it to flip to side. If I can keep my hands out of the way, it flips to the side without any resistance, locks right back into place. Surefire M951, Vega 6 muzzle brake. Now, this was kind of a last minute decision. I'm not a really big fan of muzzle brakes, especially on AR-15s. I had this one on a 10.5, and it was ridiculously obnoxious. Took it off, replaced it with a different muzzle device, and this one will get a different muzzle device eventually. So far, it's been a fantastic gun. I've probably had about 25, I'd say about 3,000 rounds through this weapon. As you can see, bolt is locked to the rear, chamber is empty. Go ahead and pop this lock out. The safety is an ambi safety. I went ahead and modified it on both sides just because I have odd shaped hands, and so I trimmed up a little bit of the excess so I can engage it with my firing selector thumb a little bit easier. Because to take it on, put it back on safe, it was kind of awkward for me to get my thumb around it and get it engaged back to safe. So I'll go ahead and drop the bolt. I did install a new buffer and buffer retainer spring. Sorry, this is kind of hard to do with one hand. Today, this gun is kind of overgassed almost. Standard single stage trigger, nothing spectacular. I'm not going to dry fire it without the bolt. Don't want to damage the lower, even though it's a PSA. So hopefully the new buffer and buffer spring will slow down the bolt carrier just a little bit. Not a whole lot of recoil on it, but it's still something I kind of want to tame down. The bolt carrier group, I'm not even sure what brand this is, but it's done just fine. Very little abnormal wear. You have some wear on the back side of the locking lugs. Nothing too crazy. I did have an extractor failure the pin that holds the extractor in actually broke. I don't even know if this is the same bolt that goes with the bolt carrier group, but I replaced it, replaced the ejector spring, and it works just fine. Gas key staking it's alright. I mean, I've seen worse. Set that aside. Now, I did notice that there was some odd, I wouldn't say hang-ups. I don't know, every once in a blue moon, I would have an odd feeding issue where the round would not feed into the chamber, so I went ahead and polished the feed ramps. I did polish the feed ramps on the upper receiver. I know you're not supposed to do that. Oops, my bad. With this being kind of a, not subpar gun, but not a good gun, I wasn't too concerned about it. I do plan on replacing the upper receiver here soon whenever I go to do a full upgrade set. Daniel Defense FSP Block 2 rail. That's actually probably the most expensive part on this gun other than the magnifier. Like I said, about 3,000 round count. I don't know if my dust cover can reflect that, but I've repainted this gun several times throughout its montage. No abnormal wear in the upper. Nothing going on in the cam groove or anything like that. The bolt retains its weight, does not collapse on its own weight, so I don't know if that's a good way of measuring, but I know my gas rings are good. I actually think I replaced the gas rings about 1,000 rounds ago. If your gas rings are failing after 3,000 rounds, there's a big issue, but I've seen odder things happen with guns, with rifles. So I just want to give a quick overview on this gun. I'm actually about to take it apart and fiddle with a different trigger. I don't know if it's going to be an upgrade, just testing it, see how it feels. Not the worst gun, not the best gun, but before I go ahead and remodel all of my firearms, I'm probably going to make a video on each one just to show what they are before and then what they are after and see the performance difference. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys.